Hello and welcome to the Following Truth Bible Study. As usual, I'm your host, LJ. In this video, I'm going to be looking at the doctrine of the Nephilim, and specifically, who are the Nephilim? And what does the Bible say? Who does the Bible say that the Nephilim is? This is actually part 2 of a 2-part video series that I did. The first part is the sons of God. Who are they? I haven't actually done that video, and I'm going to do that one actually after this one. But in this video, we're just going to be looking at specifically what does the Bible say about the Nephilim. And so after we've gone through who the Nephilim are, then I'm going to go back into the part 1, and I will show that the sons of God are not angels. It's my belief that sons of God are, as I say, not the angels, and so that the Nephilim are not the fallen angels mixing with humans and producing an offspring, basically, and that's the Nephilim. It's actually a growing doctrine at the moment. It's something that people are believing. It's not a new doctrine out there, but it's something that I believe is incorrect, and I'm going to go through in this study and show who the Nephilim are and what the Bible actually says about them. I do apologize if I sound a little bit bunged up. I do have a bit of a cold, so I do apologize if I sound a bit strange today. Okay. As always, if you are new to the channel, please subscribe. It does help out the YouTube algorithm. Please give this video a thumbs up. Obviously, that helps as well. And I will, at the end, if there are any questions, if there's time to go through questions, if they come in while I'm actually speaking, then I'll try and deal with the questions if they are relevant to where I am in the talk. If not, I'm happy to deal with questions at the end. But if we do get questions, I will try and deal with them as we go through. Okay. So also, I am still in talks with a couple of the Hebrew Israelites, and I'm hopeful that I'm going to get one of them onto the channel soon. It is really, really difficult for me to be able to get one of them to come onto the channel, because they don't really want to interact with me, especially as I've obviously written a book against them. So it's quite difficult to get them to come onto my channel. They're happy for me to go onto their channel, and it might be something that I have to do in order to get that conversation. But it is I am trying to get one onto my channel, and there is a possibility that that's going to happen, and it might be that we do one talk on mine and then another one on their channel as well. So hopefully that's something that will happen in the not too distant future. Okay, so and I do apologize if I do need to cough at any point. I have a bit of a tickly throat as well, and I have to cough now. So yeah, I'm not feeling 100%, but hopefully we should be able to get through this. Okay, so let's start. So many people believe, or it's asserted anyway, that the Nephilim, or the giants that are referenced in the Bible, are the offspring of the sons of God, who are angels, and that they mated with humans, and they produced this Nephilim offspring. Now, I'm going to, in that study in the next video, so this video is part of, I say 2 parts, but really actually it could be 3 parts, because it could be the Book of Enoch as well. So so there's a lot of information in the Book of Enoch, and I'm going to do a video against why I believe that the Book of Enoch is not scripture. So probably that will be a 3-part video series that I'm going to do, and I'll do those two, the next 2, hopefully in the next week, 2 weeks or so. The Bible clearly mentions the Nephilim. So if they were not a race of hybrid, part angel, part human offspring, who and what exactly were they? Now, the first thing that we need to do is work out what the correct word to use is in the English. Is it Nephilim or is it giants? The word Nephilim appears just 3 times in the Hebrew texts. It appears once in Genesis 6:4, and it appears twice in Numbers 13:33. So let's just start with Genesis 6:4, and let's have a look at what that is there. So the Nephilim were in the earth in those days, and also afterwards, when the sons of God went to the daughters of humans and had children by them. They were the heroes of old, men of renown. So the NIV there uses the word Nephilim. That was the NIV version, sorry. The NIV uses the word Nephilim in that verse. But if we have a look at the exact same verse in the KJV, we will see that it states that there were giants in the earth in those days. And also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them. The same became mighty men, which were of old, men of renown. Okay, so the KJV says that there were giants in the earth. The problem with the NIV's usage of the word Nephilim is that it actually gives a wrong impression. Many people look at that word, Nephilim, and they think that it's an English word that actually means the offspring of the angels and humans. And it is often stated when someone is trying to argue the point that there was an angel-human half-breed, that they were called the Nephilim, as if the Nephilim would be the English name for that specific amalgamation and offspring. But this obviously isn't the case. The NIV has not actually translated the Hebrew. What they have offered is a transliteration of the Hebrew. It simply offers a transliterated English form of the Hebrew. The word Nephilim, which incorrectly conjures up images of this offspring, in fact, doesn't actually exist in English. Nephilim is the transliteration of the Hebrew word Nephilim, which means giants. The name of 2 peoples, so it's Strong's 5303, and it means giants. The name of 2 peoples, one before the flood and one after the flood. And it comes from the root word Nephal, which means to fall or cast down. So it's kind of this definition from the root word and the lack of translation by the NIV and in fact, many modern versions of the Bible that people then use to say that the Nephilim were the offspring of the fallen angels. So it should at least be mentioned that if the angels did interbreed with humans, then it wouldn't be the offspring that had fallen, but the angels who mated with those humans, they would be the ones that fell. So it's to use it as the Nephilim as the fallen ones. Well, they're the offspring of this supposed fallen, these fallen angels. So actually, that would be an incorrect usage of that word. It would, the offspring would just be a result of that union between angels, or the fallen angels, and human beings. Now we see that Strong states that the actual Hebrew word Nephilim is the name of two peoples, one before and one after the flood. Now there is no mention of this offspring, of this being an offspring of any sort in the definition, let alone the offspring of the angels and the humans. Now, Strong's Exhaustive Concordance has another definition for Nephilim, giant, as we've already seen. It's also, from the fall, properly a fella, a bully or a tyrant, a giant. That's what that is. That's what that's meaning. So let's look at the definition of the English word giant. We're going to look at it in the 1611 av1611.com site, and it states, a man of extraordinary bulk and stature, giants of mighty bone and bold emprise, a person of extraordinary strength or powers, bodily or intellectual. The judge is a giant in his profession. Let's look at today's definition of the word. And we'll take that. I've taken this from dictionary.com. In folklore, a being with human form but superhuman size or strength. A person or thing of unusual great size, power, importance, major figure, a legend, a giant in her field, an intellectual giant. So we see that actually it doesn't necessitate that this has to be somebody of huge size. It can be used in other ways. Somebody who is top of their field, say they're outstanding in their field of intelligence, power, might, strength, all of these kind of things that it can be used for as well. It obviously can be used for size as well. That's giant. We all know what a giant, that mythological being, the giant, it that is in size. But giant simply does not mean the offspring of angel and human. It also doesn't mean that the giants were 450 feet tall, as the book of Enoch would state. Enoch 7:12, let's have a look at that. It states, whose stature was each 300 cubits. Okay, 300 cubits. These devour all which the labor of men produced, until it became impossible to feed them. Now, a cubit is approximately 18 inches. And so if we times that by the 300 cubits, we get 450 feet tall. Now, the ark that Noah built was 300 cubits in length. Genesis 6:15. And this is the fashion which thou shalt make of it. The length of the ark shall be 300 cubits, the breadth of it 50 cubits, and the height of it 30 cubits. So this would make the giants, the offspring, the same height as the ark was long. So what needs to be demonstrated is the height of the giants as per what the Bible states, and prove that they were nothing like 450 feet tall. So giant or giants appears 21 times in 19 verses in the KJV Bible. 3 times it is translated from Nephilim, as we've already seen, in Genesis 6:4, and twice in Numbers 13:33. The other 18 uses all come from the Hebrew word Haraphaim. And Raphaim is Strong's 7497, and it means a giant. The Raphaim, a proper name of a people, old race of giants, inhabitants of an area east of the Jordan. So Raphaim also means giants. So the Raphaim are also the same as the Nephilim. They are giants, or they are considered giants. So let's start with probably the most well-known giant in the Bible, Goliath. Goliath is Hebrew, Strong's word 1555, and he is a Philistine giant. But how tall was Goliath? Was he anywhere near 450 feet? So 1 Samuel 17:4. And there went out a champion out of the camp of the Philistines, named Goliath of Gath, whose height was 6 cubits and a span. Now we already know what a cubit is. 6 cubits and a span. A span is half a cubit. So working that out, he was not far off 10 feet tall. 6 times 18 plus 9 inch equals 117 inches. So it's roughly about 9'6". So very tall, a giant. He was most definitely a giant, but a long way off from what the book of Enoch would have people believing. Now, Goliath was a Philistine, and he was also a Rephaim giant. And this, so if we go to 1 Samuel 17:8 and 1 Samuel 17:23, and he stood and cried unto the enemies of Israel, and said unto them, Why are you come out to set your battle in array? Am not I a Philistine, and ye servants to Saul? Choose ye a man for you, and let him come down to me. So this is Goliath speaking. So he's saying that he is a Philistine. And then we have 1 Samuel 17:23, and he talked with them. Behold, there came up the champion of Philistine of Gath, Goliath by name, out of the armies of the Philistines, and spake according to the same words, and David heard them. So Oscar Davis is trying to flood the chat, and if you are just here to try and make an argument, I'll just remove your comment and block you. It's simple as that. Where I will go to questions, but it looks like that you're not really wanting to actually discuss this. So if you do want to continue, I'm happy to discuss it at the end with you. Otherwise, I'll just remove you from the chat. So who were the Philistines? The Philistines were descendants of Ham, Noah's son. And we see this in Genesis 10:6. And the sons of Ham, Cush, and Mizraim, and Phut, and Canaan. Genesis 10:13. And Mizraim begat Lidim, and Anamim, and Lahabim, and Nephtahim, and Pathrushim, and Casluhim, out of whom came Philistim and Caphtorim. Now, Philistim is the Hebrew Pelishti, which means inhabitants of, or sorry, it's the inhabitants of Philistia. Now, the NIV here translates this from whom the Philistines came. And so, of Casluhites, from whom the Philistines came. Now, Rabbi Rashi states in his commentary on the verse, and Pathrusim and Casluhim, out of whom came Philistim. They, the Philistines, let's bring this back up, were descended from both of them, for the Pathrusim and Casluhim used to live together in promiscuous intercourse, and the Philistines were their offspring. So this is Rabbi Rashi on Genesis 10:13, and he's saying that the Philistines were the offspring of these two peoples. Targum Jonathan has the following rendering, and the Pathrosim and Nasoti and the Pantapoloti, from whom went forth the Philisti and the Cappadoci. And that's Targum Jonathan on Genesis 13. Or actually, it's Genesis 10:14 in the Hebrew text. So these giants had human lineage that can be traced back to Ham. Nowhere is there any mention of interbreeding between humans and angels. The Bible records the lineage of the Philistines that has come through human fathers. Now, a verse, and obviously, as we know already, Goliath, who was a giant, who was considered a giant, was around about 9'6", and he was a Philistine giant who clearly has lineage back through to Noah's son Ham. Now, a verse in Amos is often used as support for the teaching that the giants were exceedingly tall. It says that the Amorites were the height of cedar trees. Amos 2:9. Yet I destroyed the Amorite before them, whose height was like the height of cedars, and he was strong as the oaks. Yet I destroyed his fruit from above, and his roots from beneath. So, were the Amorites actually as tall as cedar trees? Now, if you've ever seen a cedar tree, they are very, very tall. They can be well over 120 feet tall and can even reach up to 150, 180 feet tall. But this would still be dwarfed by a 450-foot man. Even a 180-foot tree is going to look small compared to a 450-foot man, or offspring, if that's what they were. But were they really as tall as cedar trees? We're now going to have to go and have a look at another famous giant in the Bible, and his name is Og. Now, Og was the king of the Amorites, Deuteronomy 31:4. And the Lord shall do unto them as he did to Sihon and to Og, kings of the Amorites, and unto the land of them whom he destroyed. So, Og was an Amorite. These are the people that are being compared to the cedar trees. But how tall was Og? Deuteronomy 3:11. For only Og, king of Bashan, remained of the remnant of the giants. Behold, his bedstead was a bedstead of iron, and is it not in Rabbath of the children of Ammon? 9 cubits was the length thereof, and 4 cubits the breadth of it, after the cubit of a man. So here, in that verse, we are getting told that Og is a remnant of the giants. The word giant in Deuteronomy 3:11 is Rephaim, or Ha-Rephaim, the giants. Og was a Rephaim giant. He was a Rephaim giant, the same as was Goliath. So both are considered to be Rephaim giants. Now, the Bible obviously doesn't say how tall Og was physically, but it does give us the length of his bed, which was 9 cubits, which is roughly about 13.5 feet long. Now, obviously, we have to be honest here and say that this isn't complete proof that Og was shorter than 13.5 feet. But it is far more logical to assume that he wasn't taller than 13.5 feet tall if he had a bed that was 13.5 feet. But he certainly is not going to be 450 feet tall, as the book of Enoch would say, if his bed is 13.5 foot. If we're going to be honest, and we're going to look at what the information that the actual Bible gives us, while we can't say, yes, Og was shorter than 13.5 feet, we can't be saying that he was anywhere near 450 feet, or even the size of a cedar tree, 180 feet tall. The information in the Bible is there for a purpose, and if the Bible is giving us the information that his bed was 13.5 feet tall, this isn't to try and confuse us or anything like that. It's giving us a point of reference of what we can say honestly, that Og is shorter, or maybe even slightly taller than 13.5 feet tall, but he's certainly not 180 feet or 450 feet tall. He's huge. He's a very, very tall man, but not close to a literal cedar tree. When we correctly analyze the verse, it is evident back in Amos that this does not mean that the Amorites were literally, physically the size of cedar trees. We simply have exaggerated language being used, in the same way that it is in the reference to their strength, which is also compared to a tree, an oak tree. So it's just saying that somebody is strong, somebody is tall. It's hyperbolic metaphoric language. Now, the Assyrians were also compared to the cedar tree in Ezekiel 31:3. Behold, the Assyrian was a cedar in Lebanon, with fair branches, and with a shadowing shroud, and of an high stature, and his top was among the thick boughs. So, again, this is just language that the Bible uses in order to describe people. It's comparison, it's metaphoric language. It's not meant to be taken as a literal size. The Assyrians weren't the size of cedar trees. The Assyrians were not Rephaim giants either. It's not trying to say that they were as tall as cedar trees. But let's see who the Amorites were. So the Amorites are the Rephaim giants that and Og was a Rephaim giant. Now, Amorite comes from the root word Emori, and it means perhaps a mountain dweller, a Canaanite tribe. The Amorites were descendants of Canaan. If we go to Genesis 10:15, and Canaan begat Sidon, his firstborn, and Heth, and the Jebusite, and the Amorite, and the Girgasite, and the Hivite, and the Archite, and the Sinite. So we have all of these. Afterwards were the families of the Canaanites spread abroad. The Amorite is a descendant of Canaan. Og's lineage as an Amorite can be traced back to Canaan. Og, like Goliath, had a human lineage or a human bloodline through a human man. Canaan was the son of Ham. Genesis 10:6, and the sons of Ham, Cush, and Mizraim, and Phut, and Canaan. So Og and Goliath, both Rephaim giants, both had human lineage which is traceable through the Bible back to Ham. Now, Og and Goliath were both Rephaim giants, so it could be argued that this is not the same as a Nephilim giant, and that it is the Nephilim giants that were the ones that were really tall, as they were the original giants in the verse in Genesis 6:4. Now, in order to show that this assertion is false, we need to go and have a look at Numbers 13:33. And I shall show the verse in both the KJV and the NIV. So in the KJV, it says, and there we saw the giants, the sons of Anak, which came of the giants, and we were in our own sight as grasshoppers, and so we were in their sight. And in Numbers, in NIV, we saw the Nephilim there. The descendants of Anak came from the Nephilim. We seemed like grasshoppers in our own eyes, and we looked the same to them. So, as already stated, we do have the usage of the Hebrew word Nephilim, which is used twice in Numbers 13:33. The verse also states that the Israelites were comparing themselves to the giants, or the Nephilim, and saying that they were like grasshoppers in comparison. Now, this is often, again, used to show that the Nephilim giants were indeed as tall as the book of Enoch would assert. However, when we correctly analyze the verse and fully understand what is actually being stated, we will see that it's not meaning that they were as small as grasshoppers physically compared to the Nephilim giants at all. Size is not what is being referenced. The comparison to grasshoppers actually refers to strength, not physical size, or even, as some would claim, numerically. And again, we need to go to the Bible in order to demonstrate this. So let's start with numerically and show that they weren't comparing themselves to the Nephilim, to the giants, in terms of numbers. And we'll go to Judges 6:5 for this. For they came up with their cattle and their tents, and they came as grasshoppers for multitude. For both they and their camels were without number, and they entered into the land to destroy it. And again, we have in Judges 7:12. And the Midianites and the Amalekites and all the children of the east lay along in the valley like grasshoppers for multitude, and their camels were without number as the sand by the sea for multitude, meaning number. The thing is that grasshopper in these two verses, where we have specifically the usage of for multitude, this is clearly being used as the number. That's what is being compared here. And I just give one more example in Jeremiah 46:23. They shall cut down her forest, saith the Lord. Thou it cannot be searched, because they are more than the grasshoppers and are innumerable. So what we see here is that when we have comparison to numbers, how many there are, we also have grasshoppers and then innumerable, or in multitude. We're talking about it, the Bible specifically states numerically. But the Hebrew word in those verses that I've just shown is the Hebrew arba, and it means locust from its rapid increase, or grasshopper. But it is clearly the numerical value that is in reference in all three of those verses. This isn't what is being referred to in the Numbers verse. The Hebrew word translated as grasshopper in this verse, in Numbers 13:33, is kagabim, which is from the Hebrew word kaugab, or chagab, and it's Strong's 2284, and it means locust or grasshoppers. While it kind of has the same meaning, it is a different Hebrew word, and we don't get numerical number in Numbers 13:33. Now, this is the exact same word that is used in Isaiah 40:22, where humans are also called grasshoppers when compared to God. It is he that sitteth upon the circle of the earth, and the inhabitants thereof are as grasshoppers, that stretcheth out the heavens as a curtain, and spreadeth them out as a tent to dwell in. This is a reference to strength. It is the power, the might of God that is being compared to the inhabitants of the earth in Isaiah 40:22. The inhabitants are simply grasshoppers in comparison to the one that stretches out the heavens. Now, if we expand the context of that verse and we look a bit more in depth, we will see it more clearly. That bringeth the princes to nothing, he maketh the judges of the earth as vanity. Yea, they shall not be planted, yet they shall not be sown. Yea, their stock shall not take root in the earth, and he shall also blow upon them, and they shall wither, and the whirlwind shall take them away as stubble. To whom then will ye liken me? Or shall I be equal, saith the Holy One? Lift up your eyes on high, and behold, who hath created these things, that bringeth out their host by number. He calleth them all by names, by the greatness of his might, for that he is strong in power, and not one faileth. So this is not the Bible saying that God is like a tall giant compared to human beings, or more plentiful than or the inhabitants of the earth were more plentiful than him. But rather the Bible is using exaggerated comparison language to compare the might of God to the human beings. And it is the same word that is used in Numbers 13:33. The Israelites were saying that the people of the land were mightier in strength than them. Now, we can further demonstrate this back in Deuteronomy. Now, I know we're jumping all over the Bible here, but this is showing how the usage of these words are and what the meaning of them biblically. Now, Numbers 13:33 is when the spies went out to, before the Israelites had entered into the promised land, the spies had gone out to look at the land and study the inhabitants of that promised land. Now, this is why this is important, because when we go back to Deuteronomy 7:1, we find out about the inhabitants of the promised land. Deuteronomy 7:1. When the Lord thy God shall bring thee into the land whither thou goest to possess it, so we're talking about the promised land, and hath cast out many nations before thee, the Hittites, the Girgashites, and the Amorites, and the Canaanites, the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, 7 nations greater and mightier than you. They were certainly more numerous, as the verse does tell us. It says greater, which is the Hebrew word rabim, and it means abundance. But it was the might that was being clearly contrasted. And that's wa'asuim, and that's numerous or mighty, strong. Deuteronomy 7:17. If thou shalt say in thine heart, these nations are more than I, how can I dispossess them? So, another very important piece of information to note from Numbers 13:33 is that the scouts had actually delivered a false report. They claimed that they had seen the Nephilim. Let's have a look at Numbers 13:33, and there we saw the giants, the sons of Enoch, which came of the giants, and we were in our own sight as grasshoppers, and so we were in their sight. Now we need to put this verse back into a little bit of context. As I said, this happened before the Israelites had come into the promised land, while it was still occupied by those 7 nations that were mightier and stronger than what they were, as we've already seen referenced. Now the Israelites sent the scouts out to survey the inhabitants of the land. Numbers 13:1. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Send thou men, that they may search the land of Canaan, which I give unto the children of Israel. Of every tribe of their fathers shall ye send a man, every one a ruler among them. And Moses, by the commandment of the Lord, sent them from the wilderness of Paran. All those men were heads of the children of Israel. The spies were given specific instructions by Moses as what to do when they got to the land. Numbers 13:17. And Moses sent them up to spy out the land of Canaan, and said unto them, Get up this way southward, and go up into the mountain, and see the land, what it is, and the people that dwelleth therein, whether they be strong or weak, or few or many, and what the land is that they dwell in, whether it be good or bad, and what cities they be that they dwell in, whether in tents or in strongholds, and what the land is, whether it be fat or lean, whether there be wood therein or not. And be ye of good courage, and bring of the fruit of the land. Now the time was the time of first ripe grapes. Now we are told that they explored the land. So they went up and searched the land from the wilderness of Zin unto Rehob, as men came to Hamath. And they ascended by the south and came into Hebron, where Ahiman, Shishai, and Talmai, the children of Anak, were. Now Hebron was built 7 years before Zoan in Egypt. And they came unto the brook of Eshcol, and cut down from thence a branch, which one cluster of grapes, and they bare it between two upon a staff, and they brought of the pomegranates and of the figs. The place was called the brook of Eshcol, because of the cluster of grapes which the children of Israel cut down from thence. Right. So we know that the Israelites, these spies, went out to study the land, the promised land, before they actually managed to get into the land. Now, Caleb had stated for the Israelites to then, when they returned and they gave their what they had stated, Caleb had said, let's go and possess the land in Numbers 13:30. And Caleb stilled the people before Moses and said, let us go up at once and possess it, for we are well able to overcome it. Now it is then that these spies give the false statement of what they actually saw. And we see that after Caleb had said, let's go in and possess it, the men who went and spied said, but the men went up with him, said, we be not able to go up against the people, for they are stronger than we. And they brought up an evil report of the land which they had searched unto the children of Israel, saying, the land through which we have gone to search it is a land that eateth up the inhabitants thereof, and all the people that we saw in it are men of a great stature. Now, evil in that is the Hebrew word dibba, and it means bad, slandering, or defamation. Then we get the Numbers 13:33, where they said that they saw the sons of Anak. The people who had got the spies who had gone out, they studied the land, they came back. When Caleb said, let's go in and possess the land, they gave a false report, a slandering report of what they actually saw in the land, the promised land. They said that they saw the Nephilim. They didn't see the Nephilim. They only stated that they did. As it states there, after the evil report that they gave, and all the people that we saw in it were men of great stature. They lied about what they had actually seen. Now, we also find out that later on, those men that gave that false report, they were punished by God for doing so. In Numbers 14:36, and the men which Moses sent to search the land, who returned and made all the congregation to murmur against him by bringing up slander upon the land, even those men that did bring up the evil report upon the land died by the plague before the Lord. But Joshua the son of Nun and Caleb the son of Jephunneh, which were of the men that went to search the land, lived still. So God actually punished those men that brought up that false report, because the Israelites were going to go. Caleb was saying, "Let's go in and we will possess the land," and yet they brought up an evil report, and so this was a slander against God, because God had said, "You are going to go in and possess this land," and they're saying, "We can't go in and possess the land because these people are too strong. They're too strong for us. We won't be able to overcome them." But as we've seen, it is a false report, and the men were punished for doing so. So now all I need to do is actually show that the Nephilim were not 450 feet tall, but were in fact the same height as the Rephaim giants, which we've already seen were probably somewhere between 10 and 13 feet tall. Maybe a little bit shorter than that, 9, maybe even 14 feet. So between 9 and 14 feet. So if the Nephilim were the same height as the Rephaim giants, then all the giants would roughly be the same size. Very, very tall. In comparison to humans today, it would be very tall human beings. But we're certainly not in the realms of the fictional 450 feet tall that the book of Enoch is stating that the Nephilim were. So we now need to go back and have another look at Numbers 13:33, because we get even more information in that verse. And there we saw the giants, the Nephilim, the sons of Anak, which come of the giants. And we were in our own sight as grasshoppers, and so were we in their sight. So we get the information now that the Nephilim were the sons of Anak. So who was Anak? Anak is Strong's word 6061, and you can look all of this up. You can go on online. You can go to Bible Hub. You can look at the verse. It's Numbers 13:33. You can go to Bible Hub. You can click into the actual verse. If I let me see, let's bring that up actually. So I will go to Numbers 13:33. That's 13:13. Oh, 13:33. So let's do that. And add a stream there. So we can go to Bible Hub. So you can do all of this online. All you need to do is go to search Bible Hub Numbers 13:33. Go to the Hebrew. Obviously, I'm sure that many people out there know how to do this. And there we saw the Nephilim, the descendants of Anak. And so all we need to do is click on 6061, which is the word there. And we see that Anak is a Canaanite. So Anak is a Canaanite in the same way as those Rephaim giants were classified as coming through the lineage of Canaan, and that was Og, who came through Canaan, who goes back to Ham. So this again would mean that Anak had a lineage that would go through Canaan and through back to Ham. So he obviously, yet again, we have the lineage back to Ham, but it could be argued that this was through his mother, and that his father was actually a fallen angel. However, this is again easily shown incorrect when we actually look at what the Bible states. We don't need to go outside of the Bible in order to get our information. The Bible gives us all the information that we actually need. Joshua 14:15. And the name of Hebron before was Kirjath Arba, which Arba was a great man among the Anakims, and the land had rest from war. Joshua 21:11. And they gave them the city of Arba, the father of Anak, which city is Hebron, in the hill country of Judah, with the suburbs thereof round about it. Arba was the father of Anak. And unto Caleb, Joshua 15:13, and unto Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, he gave a part among the children of Judah, according to the commandment of the Lord to Joshua, even the city of Arba, the father of Anak, which city is Hebron. The children of Anak, as we have already seen, were the Nephilim. Anak had an earthly human father who was Arba. He was not the product of an angel mating with his mother. But now we're going to go even deeper. Now we've shown that Anak had a human father. We can go even deeper because the Bible gives us so much information. There's so much information in the Bible that is there for us to use when we study these topics. We don't need extra biblical information in order to find out all the information that we can get from the Bible. The Bible just gives us it all. It's all there. The Bible is very detailed. It's very thick. And there's information in the Bible that you may look at and you think, what is that there for? That means nothing. But it may come in useful only once. It may just come in specifically for that particular doctrine. And that's what it's there for. So this is going to slightly get confusing now. Probably more confusing than it already has been. I do apologize about jumping all over the Bible, but that's really the way that we have to be able to study. We have to put these verses together. So there's nothing redundant in the Bible. It's all really important information. But let's go further. Try and stay with me. In Genesis 14:5, we find a reference to the Zuzims and to the Emims. Now, again, I know this is a lot of people that we're looking at here, but all of these people, all of these different people give us information that we can use when we are studying the Bible. So let's have a look at that verse. And in the 14th year came Chedorlaomer and the kings that were with him, and smote the Rephaims in Ashtaroth, Karnaim, and the Zuzims in Ham, and the Emims in Shava Kiriathim. So that verse says that Chedorlaomer smote the Rephaims in Ashtaroth Karnaim. The Rephaims, as we already know, were giants. But the verse also says that Chedorlaomer smote the Zuzims and the Emims. Now, this is the only time in the entire Bible that the word Zuzims is used. So we can't know much about them. And in this particular doctrine, the Zuzims are not an important part, but the Emims are. So let's find out who the Emims were. Deuteronomy 2:9. And the Lord said unto me, distress not the Moabites, neither contend with them in battle, for I will not give thee of their land for a possession, because I have given Ar unto the children of Lot for a possession. The Emims dwelt therein in times past, a people great and many and tall as the Anakims, which also were accounted giants as the Anakims. But the Moabites call them Emims. So the Emims were giants. They were as tall as the Anakims. The Anakims are the Nephilim that were referenced in Numbers 13:33. Those are the Nephilim, the Anakims. The Emims are as tall as the Anakims. And this is an important thing to note. They are as tall as the Anakims. The Emims are Rephaim giants, but we are told that the Moabites called them Emims. Now, Emims is the plural of Ema, which means terrors. An early Canaanite tribe. So the Emims, when it says there that they were, let's go back again, which were accounted giants as the Anakims, but the Moabites called them Emims. The Anakims are as tall as the Emims, and the Emims are giants. Giants there is Rephaim. The Emims, Rephaim giants, as we've already seen, Og, Goliath, Rephaim giants, very, very tall, but 9 to 14 feet tall. The Emims are now stated as being as tall as the Nephilim. If we continue on in Deuteronomy, we also find another tribe mentioned, the Zamzumims. Now, I do apologize for just all of these different names that we're going through, and it is complicated. And you can go to my writing on my website, www.followingtruth.com, and you can go through this writing, this Bible study that I've got, and you can look at it in more detail, and you can slow it down, and you can take it as fast as you need to go. And I know that we're getting a lot of information in this study. But in Deuteronomy 2:19, and when thou comest nigh over against the children of Ammon, distress them not, nor meddle with them, for I will not give thee the land of the children of Ammon any possession, because I have given it unto the children of Lot for a possession. That also was accounted a land of giants. Giants dwelt therein in old times. And the Ammonites call them Zamzumims, a people great and many and tall as the Anakims. But the Lord destroyed them before them, and they succeeded them and dwelt in their stead. When we look at the meaning of a Zamzumim, which is Strong's 2157, go and have a look at it on the on Bible Hub, or if you've got a Strong's Concordance, you can have a look at that. It means, the Zamzumims means another name for Rephaim. So we get two different peoples, the Emims and the Zamzumims, who are accounted as giants and as tall as the Anakims, and both are classified as Rephaim giants. So the Rephaim giants are the same size, same height as the Anakims, who are Nephilim. Nephilim, Rephaim, both giants, both same size, very, very tall, but certainly nowhere near what we would get from the Book of Enoch. So these are basically just Rephaim giants, and they have different names. So they're called Zamzumims, they're called Emims, but they're Rephaim giants. So yeah, so there is no scripture to base the belief that the Nephilim were as tall as the Book of Enoch says, or that they were the offspring of angel human breeding. Now I'm going to, as I say, go through that in another video. I'm going to go through the sons of God in Genesis 6:4. There's two times it's used in Genesis 6, the sons of God, and I'm going to show that they weren't the offspring at all. And basically what we've seen in this study, when we look at the information given, what the Bible actually states, we find that the Nephilim had human heritage, and that although that they were very tall, they were nowhere near the kind of height that so many people believe they are. I went down this line. I started down the road of the Book of Enoch and believing that it was a lost book from the Bible and was actually removed from the Bible. I went down that line and until I decided myself to go and study this. And the Bible just doesn't support it. If you have to go beyond the Bible to get your doctrine, then your doctrine is not biblical. I had to read the Book of Enoch, and I had to follow a rabbit's trail on YouTube videos, which I got images of these giant human skeletons, and well, technically not human skeletons because they would be part angelic beings. We get no information that the angelic beings can mate anyway. But I went down this line, and the Book of Enoch is fascinating. It's an amazing book, but what it is a book that was written by somebody that basically tried to fill in the gaps that they presumed were missing in Genesis, in Genesis 6. And they've kind of created this mythological story that is now being passed down, and it's become folklore, and you know, there are people that go believe it, and I did myself, and that's why I had to do this study, why I studied it for myself, and why I'm doing the study, and hopefully people can follow along. I know it has been very difficult. There's a lot of information that is included there. There's lots of names, but please go and have a look on the website, read it for yourself, revisit this video, watch it again, look at the information that I've presented, and just see that the Bible actually gives us the information, tells us who the Nephilim were, gives us the human lineage back to Ham, which would give us the lineage back to Noah, all through human breeding, not any kind of human angel breeding. The height of these people are very tall, but we're not getting anywhere near the size that, you know, that 450 feet tall is huge, is absolutely huge. to believe that there were these beings which were in the earth during those days. I mean, how many of these giants would be about? You wouldn't even need to go and study the land. You would see them from miles away. They would be absolutely massive. So the Bible gives us the information. It tells us who the Nephilim were, gives us that lineage. If you have any questions that you would like to ask me, you can do that through my website. If you want to discuss this in any more detail, obviously you can come and watch my video when I do the video on the sons of God and on the book of Enoch as well, and show that the book of Enoch is not scripture, and why we shouldn't be using the book of Enoch as obtaining any kind of information that is pertinent to our study anyway, put it that way. If there are any questions, if anybody has questions, I'm happy for questions. I'm not going to have people coming on here calling me names that disagree with me, which is why I removed Oscar's comments that he was making. I'm happy to deal with questions and look into if that's something that you have genuine interest in discussing, but I'm not here for ad hominem attacks or that type of thing. I put a lot of study into these, and if you disagree with me, that's fine. I have no problem with people disagreeing with me, and I'm more than happy to discuss why somebody disagrees with me or why somebody agrees with me. I'm happy to do so, but I'm not interested in trolls coming in just purely to they obviously he disagreed with where I was going, and that's fine, but I'm just not going to take ad hominem attacks. Anyway, as there are no questions, I will finish the study here. I hope that the information has been useful. Like I say, regardless of whether you agree with me or you disagree with me, I hope the information, the study has been at least of interest, and thank you very much for everybody that has watched the entire video and stayed about. Those that have come in and out, and if you're watching this back on YouTube at another time, thank you very much for watching. Again, please give this a thumbs up. Please subscribe if you would like to. It does give my channel a boost, and it obviously allows you to be kept up to date with when I do go live. I'm trying to do them as much as I possibly can. I have been a little bit under the weather this week, so hopefully I will do another video within the next few days, maybe at the weekend if I can get one. I'll probably do one then. If not, it'll be early part of next week. If you would like to support my channel, you can do so through Cash App. I really do appreciate anybody that is willing to support the work that I do. To be honest, it just I'm interested in just people coming in and having a look at the information that I present. Go onto my website. That's good enough for me. I'm more than happy with that. I appreciate everybody that sits down, takes the time to watch one of my videos, read one of my studies on my website. It means a lot to me, and I say it every video because it really does, and I will continue on saying that. I really do appreciate everybody that watches my videos and takes the time to interact with me on social media and other ways as well. So I will call this a day. Been an hour and 15 minutes. I hope it has been informative to you. Apologize about my bit of bunged up nose. But yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you again on another video, hopefully.